We have come this far by faith. Honorable members, allow me to add, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet. Oh, can turn around. We have come this far by faith. And so long as our honorable members walk by faith and not by sight, the Lord shall give our nation success. Jesus said in Matthew 17:20, and Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, little faith, for verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Nothing is impossible when we put our trust in God. God, any rivers you think are uncrossable? God, any mountains you can't tunnel through? God specializes in things thought impossible. He can do for you what no other powers can do. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith. It is believing God will fulfill His promises before we see any proof or evidence of it. What is faith? It is the confident assurance that what we hope for is going to happen. It is the evidence of things we cannot see yet. Honorable members, we can learn a powerful lesson from the life of Uzziah, king of Judah. In 2 Chronicles 26:5, he sought God during the days of may they lead the way in their various constituency and encourage to regularly attend the church of their choice and get as close to Almighty God as possible as we see the day of His coming fast approaching. Commonwealth of Bahamas, it is praying time. 2 Chronicles 7:14 still holds true. If my people, help me, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. Honorable members, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and your families and give you peace. Praying together. Our Father, God in heaven, be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Aguilar, Michael Pintar, Darren Henfield, Ramon Ferrara, Lanisha Rose, Brenzo Rose, Ellsworth Johnson, Philip Davis, Vaughn Miller, Patricia Parker Edstrom, Hiram Lewis, Carlton Bolag, James Audrey, Travis Robinson, Adrian Gibson, Donald Sanders, Frederick McAlpine, Hank Johnson, Mark Hume, Michael Pope, Miriam Wesley Emmanuel, Reese Chipman, Reuben Ramin, Ricky Mackey, Shannon Cartwright, Sean L. Ferguson, Zenatana Martin, Heiko Fox, Chester Cooper.
Chair recognizes the honourable member for Pine Ridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member, what is the purpose for your?
Rise day?
Yes.
Rule book stuff. Rule book, page 34. Well, order of business, actually, but it's actually page number 35 in the rule book. Yes, page 35. Page 35. And it all has to do, Mr. Speaker, with the order of business. So if you get to page 34 and 39, page 34, and I guess, you know, y'all had laws, y'all see Article 39, but it ain't that, so however y'all would describe it. If you go to page number 35, I get to the point as to what I wish to raise at this time, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member, I'm still not clear.
Okay.
What is your purpose?
I will state it right now from the rule book, sir. Unless the House determines otherwise, the House shall proceed.
Where are you reading from?
It's another
39
book,
subsection 2?
I got it.
Oh, go. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
39, okay, yes. 39-2.
Okay, that's what I.
Unless the House determine otherwise, the House shall, operative word, shall, proceed to following business on the second Wednesday of each month, provided the House is sitting during that month. In other words, during that particular time, there is a different agenda. An agenda just states prayer, reading of rules, communication by speaker, swearing of members, communication by minister, laying of documents of minister, communication by the clerk. Here's where I need to get to. Question time, statement by members, personal explanation, private members' business, and adjournment. This is listed in the rule book. I've been here now a year, Mr. Speaker, and I've not been able to see us to fulfill this particular section of the rule book. And considering that this is the second Wednesday, there are some members in here who sometimes have questions that they need answered, may have personal explanation. And so the question is, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because from time to time, for instance, there's something that I want to deal with in terms of questions. It's nothing controversial, but it's questionable so that one could get clarity. And so I figured that I would bring this up now so as to know when the opportunity will arise for us to fulfill this part of the obligation that's stated here in the actual rules and procedure of the House of Assembly. Like I said, I've been here for 1 year of not seeing this agenda followed on any second Wednesday of any month, as stated here in the rule books, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
The
Speaker.
chair recognizes the honourable member for Bamboo Town.
Pointing to the rules, but he speaks of Opposition Day, which is really the second Wednesday of the month. But as has been the tradition, listen, let me finish.
Honourable member.
Finish.
Honourable member.
I'm not done. Thank you, member for Pine Ridge. That is the day that there's an agreement between the opposition and the government. It has traditionally been throughout. Yes, it is the rule, but I'm saying that it is something from it is from the understanding has been, Mr. Speaker, that that day is observed under the agreement of the opposition and the government side. That has been the tradition. Now, during the former administrations, it has not been adhered to. Not one. Not one. Listen, the member for Engliston
honourable members
is speaking to the rules. But I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, I want the member for Engliston or any other member in here to point to one point in time during administrations when that has been done. But we understand the rules, and it is the second Wednesday. It is a day that is agreed to. But, Mr. Speaker, we have not sat down and had any agreement, and the government today will move forward with its agenda.
Honorable members, so that there would be no dispute as to how I interpret this rule. Honorable member, have your seat. The rule is very clear. Unless the House determines otherwise. Unless the House determines otherwise. So, this is the rule. I'm quote. The House, unless the House determines otherwise, the second Wednesday we would follow this procedure. Obviously, for the past year, the House has determined otherwise. So we have not followed that procedure. Honorable member, have your seat. Honorable member Fangleston, I continually advise you that when you shout your remarks from your chair, I happen to be able to hear the remarks. And this microphone also happened to pick it up, and it is broadcast. I have advised you of that on several occasions. I don't intend to advise you on that particular matter again. If you shout any remarks, particularly at the chair, or making comments about the chair, I don't care who you're speaking to, once the remarks are about the chair and they become audible to me, I will make a determination. Now, as far as the matter for this morning session, Honorable Member for Pine Ridge, have your seat. The chair is speaking. As far as the session for this morning is concerned, the chair has not been advised that it has been otherwise determined by this House that this day would be followed according to Rule 39, Rule 2. Honorable Member for Cat Island, the chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Cat Island.
First of all, the practice has been that the second Wednesday. No, listen, no, please. No, the practice, no.
I don't know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
Said anything yet.
What am I going to say?
Say nothing yet, man.
No, what am I going to say?
Said anything yet.
What I'm going to say? What I'm going to say? What I'm going to say? No, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? Are you going to, what am I going to say? Do you know what I'm going to say? What has the practice been? No, I'm just saying, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying the practice
Honorable members,
first of all,
direct your
First of all, what I'm
Chair.
saying is that the practice has been to follow the ordinary rules of the House. The rule does say that the second Wednesday is to be carried on, is to be in a particular way. Now, so what has happened, Mr. Speaker? It is true. It's not a question of ignoring the opposition, because the rule is not couched as though the question time is opposition time. It is couched for any member. In fact, what ordinarily happened or ought to happen has happened before. And for those of you who have not been here before, it has happened before. What happened? You have your own members ask you questions so as to clarify things, right? And that's saying, Mr. Speaker. So the question on the second Wednesday, Mr. Speaker, if you want to follow the rules, what should happen is that a move on the second Wednesday we could just say, well, we'll not follow, we'll go to the ordinary rules, as ordinary agenda of the House, as opposed to following this. And that's what I think the members raise. And that's nothing wrong. The practice we have clashes with the rules. And it could be, there could be what I call the assumption that we have waived that particular order, those order. But it's now been raised to you, and it's not opposition day, right? It's a question day where you could ask your own members to ask you questions to clarify things that's out there in the public. Yes. The members of the House appreciate what I'm saying. That's why you did not join them. That's why you did not join them. And thank you for clarifying it. It's only when the members of the House speak, they appreciate. So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is, so it is very easy. I think what the member requires.
Honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, so what could happen, since it's been drawn to our attention, the leader of the opposition just move that we just go to that order and let's proceed. Instead of, because the practice can't trump the rules.
I recognize the honorable member for Carmichael.
I don't know, Mr. Speaker, that you've been hearing persons with unparliamentary dress today, but since you have been, I can only speak for myself. Speaker, the practice that we follow is based on the practice in the House of Commons. And we can readily look at the Green Book maze that is in front of you. Maze indicates that the general practice is to follow the ordinary agenda unless it is the wish of the House. And if So, Mr. Speaker, the practice, and we're speaking about the practice that we follow, where questions ought to come up. Speaker, I don't know. No, I'm reading it. I'm not selective. Speaker, non-parliamentary members shouldn't be saying things like that to me. I really don't care what anybody has. I know what I have. I know what I have. So, Mr. Speaker, unless it is the general wish of the House.
Honorable members.
And you see, Mr. Speaker, I sat here and I listened to everybody who spoke this morning. I didn't interrupt anyone. I didn't show any discourtesy to anybody. None. No discourtesy to anyone. And Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable member for Pine Ridge. You are being disruptive of the proceedings. I am putting you on notice to discontinue that behavior. The honorable member for Carmichael has the floor. When you have the floor, I will request that honorable members respect you and that you will be able to make your delivery uninterrupted.
Mr. Speaker, the practice in Commons, the practice that May has observed, the practice that we've observed as the honorable members indicated, is that unless there is a general wish expressed in this House for us to depart from the ordinary orders of the day, we proceed with that, and there's no need for a motion. There's never a need for a motion. So we proceed on the normal orders of the day, Mr. Speaker, and unless there is a general wish in this House for otherwise, there's no need for it. That's the practice that the House of Commons observes. That's the practice that this House has observed for many, many years. And the senior members who are here, those who are senior, can verify that. Yes.
The chair recognizes the honorable member for Pine Ridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me make it graphically and emphatically clear. It is not my intention to insult the chair or this honorable chamber. And if that's how it might have perceived to be, my humble apology to you, Mr. Speaker, and everyone within this chamber. I simply asked a question as it related to the rules. All Pine Ridge was seeking to gather, and I understood, if we cannot follow this agenda today, that's acceptable. I was seeking to find out when the opportunity will arise, because there are questions that members of this caucus, government caucus, may want some answers to. And so rather than us disrupting the procedure or the business order of the day, I just felt that it was appropriate for me to ask to get clarity as to what this rule indicates.
Thank you, honorable.
And I'm not concerned, Mr. Speaker, about, the book does not say anything about opposition. It does not speak to specifically as opposition. And I need my colleagues to also understand, Mr. Speaker, what was done or wasn't done is not the issue of today. We told the Bahamian people that we would do better and that it's the people's time, and we would govern in accountability and transparency.
Honorable member, I have taken your point. Thank you very much. Resume your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Bahamas. Keep your eyes.
Honorable members, we have a special grouping within the gallery. If you are patient, you will get the ruling. But somehow it appears as if we have a special grouping in the gallery this morning. We have summer students, 10 summer students, who have been assigned to the Parliament of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Can you stand for us, please? Thank you very much. With respect to the issue raised in Rule 39, subsection 2, it is the ruling of the chair that the business of this House will proceed according to the business as laid out in Rule 39, subsection 1. I just want to say at this time, before we proceed, that we've just celebrated 45 years of independence, and I've had the opportunity to visit with the West Grand Bahama district, 8 Mile Rock and West End Grand Bahama in particular, where I served as the patron for 2 of the events. They were really exciting events. I want to thank the chairman of the West Grand Bahama Independence Committee, Mr. Rosny Cooper, and Mr. Don Cornish, the administrator of that district, for the warm hospitality extended to myself and my wife. And I want to thank the people of 8 Mile Rock and West End, in particular, for their patriotic spirit and their excitement about the independence celebrations. I also was so pleased to see the 30 honorees and their families in a church service that was overflowing in terms of the participation and the outpouring of love in West End. That augurs well for the future of the Bahamas with respect to our patriotism and our nationalistic approach as we proceed. I also want to thank the former members of Parliament and Cabinet Ministers, Maurice Moore and C.A. Smith, for their gracious hosting, and the member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, who accompanied me on a number of the events within that district. And I have with me some of the gifts that were showered on me. If you can get a tight picture of that. This is one of the gifts presented on that occasion. And it was really an occasion that says that despite us being an archipelago, we had a person who was born in Great Inagua, down in West Grand Bahama. The new administrator, replacing Administrator Cornish, is also a Great Inaguan, Christian Palacios. And so we had the entire archipelago represented on that occasion. And so I want to just say thank you for such a good experience on our 45th independence anniversary. Introduction and swearing in of new members. Lying of documents by ministers. Laying of documents by ministers. Statements and communications by ministers. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Carmichael.
Speaker, I am honored to be able to rise in this place once again as the elected representative of the people of Carmichael. And I wish to read 2 communications. Speaker, the first communication relates to the 2018 Ministerial Forum on Urban Regeneration and Development. Speaker, last month, I was honored to be afforded the opportunity to attend the 2018 Ministerial Forum on Urban Regeneration and Development in Shanghai, China, as a guest of the Government of the People's Republic of China. The forum was held from 19 to 25th June, with 28 participants from Albania, Belarus, Laos, Liberia, Mauritius, Palestine, South Sudan, and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It was hosted by the Shanghai Business School and provided us with a forum to share perspectives on development planning in our respective countries. I thank the organizers for affording me the distinct privilege and honor to be one of the featured speakers at both the opening and closing ceremonies. I was also a guest speaker at a forum workshop, which was hosted by the Shanghai Jingwei Architect Planning and Design Institute, where I addressed the topic of the challenges of urban development in small island developing states, with a focus on the Bahamas. During the course of my presentation, I sought to enlighten listeners to our unique geographic and planning challenges, resulting in the stringency of our building code, building height restrictions, and our resolve to continue to evolve our focus on development, which is uniquely different from the current focus of other world cities and centers. The feedback was particularly encouraging, and I anticipate that there will be further efforts to share valuable information among forum participants. The speaker of the forum provided an opportunity to be introduced to an interesting perspective on development in China. Shanghai is a thriving municipality of 24 million residents. It has successfully transformed itself into a world-class international city that is renowned for its international economic, finance, trade, and technological innovation. Most impressive was the city's emphasis on planning for development. Notwithstanding the fact, sir, that it already had a master plan for development, in 2015, Shanghai pulled all stakeholders together and refocused on the planning process. This has resulted in the recently completed Shanghai 2035 Master Plan, which focuses on development for the next 18 years. The plan was developed over a period of 2 years with consistent community dialogue. Residents were comprehensively engaged in the process of planning the city that they want to live in. Critical issues for residents to resolve related to questions such as, what do they want their neighborhood to look like? What services and amenities are most critical, and how close and convenient should they be? What are the desired means of transportation? And how do you protect the environment? In other words, sir, they developed the People's Plan. Mr. Speaker, a critical aspect of the Shanghai Master Plan focuses on critical issues that we too here in the Bahamas must engage in discussing. One of these is the issue of branding. In other words, sir, what is the image of the Bahamas that we wish to convey to the world? And what is the image of each island that we wish to cultivate with respect to business, technology, culture, and finance? All over the world, cities are grappling with the issue of creating unique brands that distinguish them from every other destination. Many traditional brands are being rethought with a focus on the future. And the Bahamas must rapidly do likewise, because sun, sand, and sea is no longer seen to be unique to us. The redevelopment of our downtown and the very survival of our communities throughout the country may well depend on how we brand ourselves. A second issue that emerges from the Shanghai Master Plan is the extent to which we wish to encourage a culture of entrepreneurship rather than reliance on traditional employment. In Shanghai, they are creating entrepreneurial hubs. They have redeveloped and continue to redevelop old and abandoned sites into centers of entrepreneurship. Young people with innovative ideas are able to relocate to these centers at concessionary rates as they develop their revolutionary ideas, which is similar to something that we are seeking to do in the Bahamas now. What they seek to do, Mr. Speaker, is to create a mini Silicon Valley at strategic locations throughout their city to provide budding entrepreneurs with the opportunity to come up with that next great idea without the pressures, the risks, and the exorbitant expenses that are often attendant to innovation and business development. Speaker, the Shanghai Master Plan comprehensively focuses on promoting urban and rural integration, and also formulates spatial development strategies related to providing critical services in local communities and the preservation and protection of the environment. These are matters that require our urgent attention in the Bahamas also, as New Providence continues to sprawl without consistent planning. We need to plan now, sir, for population growth, for the development of our roads, schools, clinics, and other community services, rather than our currently seemingly random and haphazard approach to national development. Speaker, Shanghai is a coastal city. It is faced with challenges of rising water levels that the Bahamas will face from climate change. I was therefore quite impressed with the focus of the plan on remediating flooding, since we are challenged in New Providence and other islands such as Exuma with flooding at high tides and during heavy rains. I was also quite impressed with their focus on coastal protection through the unique concept of creating a sponge city. And I'd never heard of that concept before. This is a plan that we shall follow closely so as to monitor its successes and, where possible, to duplicate in the Bahamas. Speaker, locally, the Prime Minister's innovative, timely, and much-needed focus on the regeneration of our traditional over-the-hill communities is a wonderful launching pad for a national focus on planned development and regeneration. We have much work to do, and the active participation of all of our people will be required for optimum levels of satisfaction. Speaker, I close by thanking the government of the People's Republic of China for providing this unique opportunity for insight into the development of one of their world cities, as well as offering a forum to cultivate and share ideas for our own development with knowledgeable representatives from other countries. I shall seek to share the ideas discussed and developments viewed as widely as possible so that we may consider their suitability or otherwise in our local Bahamian context. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the communication be brought up. Order that the communication do lie on the table. Further communications.
Speaker, the second communication relates to something that occurred while I was away. Very unfortunate. I wish to deliver this communication concerning the power outage on the 25th of June, 2018. I believe as the government of transparency, the government that lives up to our word, it's important for me to do that. Speak on the evening of June 25th, 2018. Severe inclement weather impacted the Western District of New Providence. During this weather event, one major transmission line, the Skyline 132,000 volt overhead line, was struck by lightning and tripped, resulting outages in western and southern New Providence. As the system began to recover from this event, a flashover occurred in the 33,000 volt cable box of a primary transformer at Clifton Pier plant. Given the location of the transformer, it would be imperative that a fault of this nature be immediately, automatically isolated from the system to avoid a shutdown. For this reason, the transformer is controlled by a 33,000 volt circuit breaker. Despite the circuit protection recognizing the fault, where it should have tripped, did not trip. The circuit breaker did not open to isolate the problem, resulting in the protection of online generation Clifton Pier, tripping those units offline to safeguard them. This is what happened, Mr. Speaker. This is a transformer that burned out. The equipment at the substation is extremely old, sir, and should have been replaced years ago. Accordingly, BPL is not even able to find parts for that equipment.
Yep.
And therefore, additional backup protection, such as circuit breaker with failure protection, was not available to provide further isolation of the fault. As a result, the problem remained connected to the network, triggering the shutdown of all remaining online generation at the Blue Hills plant and the subsequent island-wide outage. Speaker, transmission and generation team members immediately commenced the restoration process to put the system back to normal. The faulted transformer, which you see here, was manually isolated from the network, and the system prepared for the first generator to be connected. first unit, generator number 1 at Blue Hills, was put online at 7:15 p.m. This energized the first set of customers near Big Pond. Remaining customers were eventually restored at 10:45 p.m. with the exception of those areas of the island that were connected to the faulted transformer. Teams then began to reconfigure the network to restore supplies to the remaining consumers. I'm advised that all customers were back online before 1 a.m. on June 26, 2018. And if that's not so, I certainly would like to hear from those consumers because BPL owes them an apology, and I apologize to them. The transformer cable box will have to be replaced, sir. Substation maintenance teams at Clifton Pier and the field operations have commenced this effort. It's the company's intent to replace the switchgear at Clifton Pier, 33 kilowatt substation B. The needed funding of $1.2 million for this work has been included in this year's capital budget. In the interim, however, field operations teams, plan and protection, will assist Clifton Pier in reviewing the functioning of the existing equipment to seek to ensure proper response to fault conditions. Mr. Speaker, none of us likes to see these outages. They're very unfortunate. I've sought to explain this one occurred. No amount of explanation is enough to deprive power. And so all being apologize. We will do better. We will continue to do. Thank you, sir.
Application be brought up.
No problem. I'll give you a person problem. I'll give you a
Order that application to lie on the table.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Further statements and communications by communications by the clerk. Thank you, Honorable Clerk. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the Senate. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign seat, and new writs. Presentation of petitions. Presentation of reports of committees. Adoption of reports of committees. First reading of bills. The chair recognizes the honorable member for Kalani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move for the first reading of the following bill. A bill for an act to promote the redevelopment of communities of the Bahamas through the granting of certain exemptions and fiscal incentives for the renovation and restoration of property and the encouragement of businesses in a designated economic empowerment zone and for matters connected thereto, Mr. Speaker.
Is there a seconder?
Second.
Order that the bills be brought up.
Mr. Speaker, while I'm on my feet, while I'm
Yes,
on my
honorable
feet,
member.
Mr. Speaker, I would only like to remind members that bill would declare the inner city a tax-free zone with the boundaries extending from Delancey Street, Wolf Road in the south, Nassau Street in the east, and Collins Wall in the west, sorry, and Collins Wall in the east. And be done phase-wise. Next phase would be St. Barnabas and Angliston, Rock Crusher, Gambia, portions of Fox Hill, and Camp Road. But Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to inform this Honorable House that as of Friday, I would recommence my travels through the Family Islands, where I would go to Ackland's Crooked Island, Ackland's Crooked Island, and no, not Exuma, and what's the other areas? Meaguana and Inagua, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
It is my intent to educate the various communities about budget, and at the same time I would, for the first time ever, Mr. Speaker, report to those communities what had transpired at the CARICOM meeting, and also inform them as to what will transpire when I visit the UN on Tuesday. And I would thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It has been moved and seconded that the following bill be read for the first time. A bill for an act to promote the redevelopment of the communities of the Bahamas through the granting of certain exemptions and fiscal incentives for the renovation and restoration of property in the economic, let me just read that again. A bill for an act to promote the redevelopment of communities of the Bahamas through the granting of certain exemptions and fiscal incentives for the renovation and restoration of property and the encouragement of business in the designated economic empowerment zone and for matters connected thereto. Order that the bill be read for the first time. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. Order that the bill be read for the first time.
A bill for an act to promote the redevelopment of communities of the Bahamas through the granting of certain exemptions and fiscal incentives for the renovation and restoration of property and the encouragement of businesses in a designated economic empowerment zone and for matters connected thereto.
For the first reading of bills, Chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Bamboo Town.
Mr. Speaker, there are no further first readings. Mr. Speaker, I do move at this time that the House suspends until 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 18th of July, 2018.
Is there a second now? It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House do suspend until 10 a.m. Wednesday, the 18th of July. As many as are in favor will remain seated. Those who oppose will stand. The business of this House stands suspended until 10 a.m. the 18th, Wednesday, the 18th of July, 2018. All right.